Welcome everybody to a kind of video that I have indeed done before. We're doing another tier list, except this time, instead of, doing my own stuff like a self-indulgent piece of filth, we're going to be doing anime. Specifically romance, rom-com style anime that I've watched personally, which is probably more than the average person. Not probably, it absolutely is. Anyways, that's what we're doing today. I have quite the selection here, and excuse me if I can't exactly, if I sound like crap or I can't think properly. I'm in incredible discomfort right now, just, it's probably digestion problems. Anyways, ignoring that, we're doing a tier list, and let's get straight into it. We've got 6 tiers here, going from worst to best. Down at the bottom here, we have Just Shoot Me. Now, I didn't think that I had any of these on the list, but I may or may not, so I don't know. We'll see soon enough, but this is for shows that are honestly just complete garbage, and I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You would honestly prefer death than to watch them, which, to my knowledge, there's nothing like that on this list, but I'm probably just forgetting one of these. And if I am, it's probably something that I didn't finish, because, I wouldn't subject myself to that. That's a lie. I definitely would, considering one of the entries on this list. Anyways, next up we have Madness Inducing. Now, this isn't necessarily to say that the anime is god-awful, but this is to say that the show is, it's what it sounds like. It's just insane. It drives you mad to even watch it due to whatever the reasoning is within the show. Usually there's a quality issue included, but this isn't to say necessarily that the show is god-awful. Up here we have Mostly Good. I would have put overrated, but considering these are actual animes that actual people watch, that are totally not Discord moderators, that I don't want to, Anyways, we got Amazing here. This is for shows that are probably, this is like a 9 out of 10, right? This is for really good shows that I would suggest to pretty much most people because they're incredibly good. But they're not what you would call peak, which is the next tier here, which is obviously usually used in anime to describe shows like One Piece or, like Death Note. I would personally describe Death Note as peak. Just the best of the best, right? Peak fiction, if you will. Which, not that most of the entries in this list are peak fiction, but still, there are some great ones on here. And then next up, we have God is Entertained. This is this is God's entertainment. This is not for mere mortals to witness. There's one entry on this list that I'm putting up here, and I don't want to overuse it because otherwise that defeats the purpose of the peak tier, or really even the amazing tier. So yeah, it's kind of redundant. So that's why there's one reserved for that spot on the throne. Now let's get into it. We're starting off with number 1, 3D Kanojo, or Real Girl, if you want to use the English pronunciation. Just so a little heads up, I watched the dubbed version for everything. I know, I'm a piece of trash, but still, that's part of it. Not that the voice acting quality will be judged on any of these besides one of these. Not this one. This one's pretty good. I'm putting this in Mostly Good. Here's why. Ishino. Pretty much Ishino and Ito carry half of this show. Just because of how entertaining they are to watch. As for Tsutsui, this man is a welcome mat. He gets walked on by everybody. That's the point. He's supposed to be like the archetypal, otaku loser kind of character. However, somehow his friend Ito has more, like 20 times the charisma he has, and the man wears cat ears for most of the episodes. So, yeah. It pretty much speaks for itself. He gets assaulted like 20-something times in season 1. I'm not even kidding you. And the biggest problem with this show is that it's going at warp drive. okay? I mean, it's like Star Trek with the freaking USS Enterprise. This thing jumps to warp, and then you don't know what's going on. The first 4 episodes are actually the most confused I've ever been watching a TV show in my entire life. Not because it's confusing inherently, but because things go so fast that you actually cannot process what is going on. And it's not just me. I was looking at comments on the site that I watch this stuff, all these different shows on, and all the comments agree. They have no idea what's going on. Episode 1, this man skipped like 2 seasons of development. He kisses Aroha in episode 1. They start dating in episode 1. I mean, it's incredible. It's like, this man speedrunned everything. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention this. In this video, I will not be explaining the storyline to any of these shows. If you are curious about it, go watch the show yourself, and if I say it's garbage, probably just look up a blurb online. Or if you don't have time, then just look it up, Obviously, you don't have to watch each show, except for 2 of these on this list. I definitely will recommend them. Anyways, sorry, my nose is stuffed up. I sound like an idiot. Alright, moving on to the next one. Teasing Master Takagi. I'm watching this show right now, as in, I've already watched the show, but I haven't watched the movie, so I'm quote-unquote watching it. This goes in madness-inducing. I know, this is going to be a very hot take, probably the biggest hot take on this list. I think this show is, it is the definition of insanity, okay? Nishikata, he is insane. He is borderline insane, and regardless of your thoughts on the whole definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, kind of MO, this man fits it to a T. It applies in this show, okay? He does the same thing every episode, and he fails every single time without fail, okay? I know everyone's seen one of those evolution charts, okay? Imagine the dumbest person you've ever met in your entire life. This man is 1 generation behind him, okay? He is the unevolved, and that's an understatement. This man, I mean, he overthinks everything, but he doesn't overthink things because he's genuinely intelligent and just, thinks about it too hard. No, he's just that stupid, okay? He cannot get it through his skull that things are not as they seem. And, I mean, it is what he manages to achieve in his failure is statistically impossible. I mean, basically the idea is that he fails to tease his friend, Takagi, constantly, every day. Multiple times, every day, he tries for like a year and a half, okay? I mean, it's impossible for you to manage to somehow fail at something that you do literally like 100 times a day, every day, for a year and a half, and you fail to tease her once, or to succeed in doing so, right? Because he gets screwed over himself all the time. I don't even know how to imagine it. And then Takagi, she needs to join the freaking X-Men because she can read minds. I mean, it's blatantly apparent. She will literally read his thoughts out loud, word for word, in quotation. Like, there's no physical sign on somebody's face that can depict exactly what they're thinking. She is a telepath and also a reality bender. She does stuff that should be impossible. Anyways, we're moving on. This show is decent, but Season 2's voice acting, also, because Netflix ran it, it's god-awful. I mean, I'm not gonna go into it. Alright, next up, we've got Domestic Girlfriend. This show is, I would put it in mostly good, but I'm going to put it in madness-inducing, but I'm going to put it at the top of madness-inducing. Okay, this show's it's decent, but there are a few problems with it. First of all, let me say the positives. Rui, I think, is one of the best characters in this show. She's just fun to watch. Momo is kind of, I don't know, she's interesting when she's introduced, but overall, I think there are some good characters in this show. The writer, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, who's also a teacher, I think that he is probably the most fun character to watch in this entire show. As for the main character, he's kind of a whack job. Once again, I'm not explaining the stories of any of these shows, so look it up for yourself. But he's got problems. Same with Hina. I mean, seriously, she has more than one kind of problem. Okay, the only one I'm gonna name here is that she's involved with an affair and obviously knows it's an affair. Not that, you know, like it's not necessarily on her end, but still, she is the other woman, and I don't know, she's kind of screwed up in a variety of ways. Also, one thing that really bothers me in the show, probably the most madness-inducing part of this entire show, is that part with the hotel room. Not at the beginning of the show, just later on that trip. I'm calling it a hotel room. I don't know if it's necessarily that's what it is, but yeah, it's like they didn't close the blinds or anything. It's like, dude, really? And then some guy or some random person just happened to look up at that exact room and take a picture of it. I mean, it's insane. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I'm putting this here, not because I think the show's bad, but just because it is madness-inducing indeed. Next up, we got A Couple of Cuckoos. I watched this show recently, and, well, it's going in, I'm gonna say it goes in mostly good. Yeah. Or should it be an amazing? I'll put it in mostly good. I don't know. Is it overrated? I don't know what most people think about the show, so I don't know if I'd call it overrated. But it's definitely not your usual kind of show. I don't know. It's pretty good. Most of the characters I really like. I mean, yeah. Like, a lot of people don't like Sachi, sorry. But I don't know. I think she's a decent character. I don't think there's any characters that I just completely hate. However, the whole thing with, like, the brother, where it's like, oh, I have this older brother, you know, that you don't know and have never met and that nobody will speak of. I don't know what in God's name that's all about. And I know this show isn't completed, obviously. It's only one season in. Yes, I only watch the anime. I'm not a manga reader. There's only one thing on this list that I've actually picked up the manga for. And you can probably guess it's the thing I made the best tier for. However, this show, yeah, I don't know. The whole mystery with the brother thing, it goes nowhere. And, I mean, it's pretty much cliffhanger. As for Erika's father, that man is a supervillain. I mean, he is vile, to say the least. I don't even know where to begin with this guy, and I'm not going to bother with the story, but, I mean, he's weird. Okay, let's just leave it at that. You can look it up if you want, but he's got problems. Next up, we've got Alya. Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. I'm going to put this in amazing because I think it's a pretty good show. I really liked it. Yui carries this show. Most people agree with that, but yeah, Yui is obviously the best part of this show. Alya is the leading heroine, and I don't dislike her like a lot of people, but she is kind of stale. I don't know. She's kind of a cardboard cutout. She doesn't have a whole lot of personality. Like, I think she's entertaining enough. But, yeah, I think Yui is just better in a lot of ways. Of course, you know, the dynamic with the main character wouldn't conceivably work for a few reasons. But, yeah, and she has some weird moments, too. But I think this show is pretty good. And, additionally, I think the dynamic, or, not dynamic, gimmick, with the Russian, I think it's pretty unique, and I like watching unique things because it's, you know, more entertaining. Doesn't mean you want to make it unique for no reason. I'm looking at you, domestic girlfriend. Anyways, moving on to 100 Kanojo, aka 100 Girlfriends. Yeah, it's weird. And I'm putting it at the top of amazing because this show is, I don't know. I would probably say that it almost belongs in peak. if it wasn't for it being so weird and the fact that I'm recording this. But this show is just pinnacle entertainment. Nothing makes sense. It is real weird. I will say I really appreciate there's a lot of Western references. Not literally Western, you get what I mean, Western culture references in the show. Like, I pointed out a Boondocks reference. I don't remember where I did it, but I was one of the only people that noticed it, according to what I found. There's a Breaking Bad reference in there. There's Resident Evil references. There's a few other references that I probably don't remember. I'm sure there's a Star Wars reference in there. Point is, a lot of good stuff that you would probably need to have seen a few other things to pick up on. But overall, very entertaining show. The only thing that I would say drags this show down a little bit, just a tiny bit to not make it peak, is the zombie episode. That stuff was weird. It was weird. Not to mention, this show is just the definition of out of context, nonsensical, everything, pretty much. Like, every stigma that revolves around romance in anime is pretty much validated in this show. Also, that vice principal, I'm not even going to show an image on the screen. I don't know what that thing is, but it belongs in the deepest depths of hell. I mean, that's pretty much it. Anyways, we're moving on. Next up, we've got the peak, Quintessential Quintuplets. This is probably my 4th or 5th favorite anime. This show is peak. Everything about it is just amazing. For starters, the main character, I'm going to be honest, he's probably my favorite main character out of everyone in this list, including the top spot. Okay? Yeah, I think Futaro is just, he has self-respect, for starters. I mean, yeah, he's a little bit arrogant. Not a little bit, he's pretty arrogant, especially toward the beginning. But, I mean, it's a good change of pace to have an anime protagonist with some self-respect. He's not like a total prideful, piece of garbage, and he's not, psychopathic. I'm looking at you, Light. But still, he has some self-respect, he has some skill, he's intelligent, and, I mean, he's relatable, too. He also doesn't have a lot of money, so he's not like, one of those shonen characters where he's just this infinite wallet, and you're questioning how he afforded half the equipment that he acquired. Not gonna name any names here, but, but yeah, I mean, he's just a great character, and I think his voice actor is amazing, simply put. Additionally, all 5 of the quintuplets, amazing characters. The character development in this show is great. I mean, just look at Nino, for example. She starts off the show as this, not gonna say any offensive words, but basically she's an imp, okay? She's a demon. And she literally drugs Futaro in the first episode. And she does it later, too. But she's quite caring, and you learn a lot about her. And I think that she honestly had some of the best interactions with Futaro and grew the most attached to him, I think, on a visually emotional level, right? Like, you actually see how she could conceivably be attracted to Futaro. And a lot of people were disappointed that she lost to Yotsuba. Spoiler alert, by the way. I'm sure I'll put a spoiler somewhere in this video. If not, sucks to be you if you haven't watched it. But yeah, I mean, do I think Yotsuba should have lost to her? I don't know. I mean, I like Yotsuba, but yeah, I think that there's a lot of good character development, especially with, Yotsuba. I mean, textbook airhead kind of character. You would not expect her to win out of the 4 others, in terms of sisters. However, it makes sense, because Futaro, since the beginning, had always been most accepted, most interactive, most trusted with Yotsuba. And it makes sense because she was, essentially that one girl that Futaro remembers from his childhood that changed his life forever. So, I mean, it makes sense. Anyways, this show is amazing, so I'm going to stop, gushing over it. Okay, we're moving on. Horimiya. Sorry, I'm not quite sure how I'm supposed to pronounce it. I'm just gonna go with Horimiya. Horimiya? That sounds better. Anyways, I'm putting this in amazing. This show, really good. I don't have any problems with this show. Is it peak? I don't know. Not really sure. I don't know. Maybe I should put it in peak. I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I'll keep it in amazing just because it's not like a bad tier at all, you know. And I put it above Alya, whatever. Anyways, Horimiya has some of the best romance in all of anime. I'm just saying. The interactions between Miyamura and Hori are some of the best of all time. I mean, simply put, their interactions feel very real. The way that they get to know each other progressively, it feels like actual friends. And while Kyoko, or Hori as her last name, is kind of a freak show, her interactions with Miyamura, they're a good balance. They're a good kind of reflection of how the other seems to be. They're really just great characters. This show is pretty relaxed, I will say. It's probably the best part about it. There's no big stakes. There's no big misunderstandings. There's no, excessive drama. It's just flat fun, and it's just pretty laid back. I mean, that's really all there is to it. I like the other characters. I think they all have fun interactions with each other. Fun, pretty much everything about it. It's just constant entertainment. And the only thing that I have a problem with is Yui. I think Yui's a good character, but she doesn't, her character arc, I feel like it doesn't reach the point it's supposed to at the end of the show. That's just me. Other than that, I'm also including missing pieces, which is quote-unquote season 2, kind of, in this. Even though it's not officially a season 2, I'm including it in here because it's pretty good.
Also, the animation is great.
Anyways, we're moving on. Okay, next up on the list is the GOAT. Kaguya-sama, Love is War, God's Entertainment. This show, this is probably my second favorite anime. Definitely my favorite romance anime. I don't know. It could be in first place, and I wouldn't have any problems, but I don't know. I really like Death Note. But still, Kaguya-sama, Love is War. I could gush about this show all day, but I'm going to make it quick. Main character, there's two main characters, pretty much. Miyuki and Kaguya, best interactions. They're constantly amusing to watch. They always have these funny, stupid, interactions and random banter. And it's just the chemistry is off the charts, right? You have Aaron Dismuke voicing Miyuki, right? And then you have Alexis Tipton, for dub, by the way, voicing Kaguya. And they're just, both of them are amazing voice actors, and they really sell the exaggerations of the anime just at its best. I think my favorite character, though, is Ishigami. He's just, everything he does is funny. He's the perfect blend of relatable and entertainment, right? He's not a complete loser, The man has skills, and he has charisma. And, best of all, he has self-awareness and self-respect, to an extent. He's constantly helping everyone out, he's constantly doing his own thing, and everyone kind of has their own focus in the show, right? Even Hayasaka has her own moments that are individualized, and it's not just prioritizing the main two characters. You get more of the A and B sort of plots. Fujiwara, peak character. Just the best airhead in all of anime, in my opinion. As for, what else? Miko, I didn't like her when she was introduced at the beginning of Season 2, and then she became one of my favorite characters in the entire show. You would know if you've watched some of my videos, she's just randomly there. I don't even know why, she just is. With that in mind, Kaguya-sama, Love is War, peak. God's entertainment. One last thing, there's multiple Western references in here. There's literally the outro to, I think, Season 2 or 3 is literally Starship Troopers. Why? no idea, but it is. Anyways, we're moving on. We have Tonikawa, Over the Moon for You. Enough said. Amazing tier. I don't really... I'm not going to say anymore. It's just putting it there. Alright, next up we have Dangers in My Heart. I know this one is absolutely beloved. I'm going to put it in peak. Although I do think the show is slightly overrated. I don't want to... Not to get attacked. I'm not saying it's bad. But I think it's a little bit overrated, right? Like, people compare it to Kaguya-sama Love is War. I don't think it's that good. I still think Quintessential Quintuplets is better. And I know they have different dynamics, right? Like, one is a harem and the other is, you know, one-on-one. But still, it's... yeah. Yamada, great character. She's kind of weird at the beginning of Season 1, but granted, so is the main character. I mean, he's just... yeah. I mean, he's kind of, he's like what happens when you're trying to be too edgy, but you're in your own mind and not saying it out loud. So it's just, I don't know, like he's aware something's wrong with him, but not really. It's kind of, it's weird. As for their interactions, best dynamic of all time. I mean, just, they feel like real people. They feel like people actually having a great kind of just life, spending time, more and more time together progressively until, you know, their thoughts on one another are just unavoidable because it becomes blatantly obvious. As for side characters, they're good. That's, yeah, I mean, I do think Yamada's father, every time he shows up, I just picture the Prowler theme from, you know, from Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, just, I'm sorry, I just picture it. Anyways, last one here. I forgot why I put this last on the list, and then remembered. I'm not even gonna say what the title of this one is. If you can read, you can read. Actually, you definitely cannot see that from there. Yeah, it's cut off by the box. If you know the cover, you know the cover. This show is so boring that I actually fell asleep while watching it and couldn't even get past episode 2. I was done. I just quit out of it. I mean, this show is pinnacle boredom. There's like 2 minutes straight of no dialogue and them just eating or doing something. And it is boring. I mean, it is absolutely... It's like watching paint dry. It's incredible. The plot is non-existent. I mean, once again, you may have to finish a show to like it. But there is a reason that you get hooked to a show. If you don't hook the viewer, they're bored and they don't watch the rest of the show. And this show is a prime example of that. To the point where I'm not even naming it out loud. Anyways, this is the list. Take a nice long gander. It is the only correct list out of all these shows. Everything else is invalid. I will say there's probably a few things that I would switch around. Perhaps like 100 Girlfriends. Should it be peak? Is the thing. I don't know. It's peak entertainment. Is it peak storytelling? Not really, but you know. I don't know. Rentaro is also kind of absolutely just beyond his mind's capacity, so I don't know. Anyways, if you enjoyed, hopefully there's a lot of anime fans that watch this. Hopefully that's the only people that watch this, because otherwise you'd be looking at me like, you know, like I crawled out of Arkham Asylum. Please leave a like, comment, and tell me if you want to see more tier lists, because I will be happy to oblige. Hopefully I'm not, you know, dying internally next time. Please do like, a comment, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.